It is Wednesday, January 28th. FOMC is today. I personally think it's more interesting looking at the market as a whole. It's more interesting looking at metals. I mean, everyone's talking about silver right now. Yes, this could be a massive Fed bailout moment. There is likely to be a new Fed chair confirmed in May. All of this is true, and all of that can be true, and it also be, in my view, more important to look at individual stocks because there's more risk reward, more alpha there. What individual stocks? Well, I think the memory names are possibly still having some juice in them. Seagate has earnings that just came out, and if that stock can close with a solid high volume, it means a lot of people are buying it. So I would definitely take a look at that. And then as far as the whole rotation trade, money flowing out of metals and into Bitcoin, it is possible. It could happen. Bitcoin is moving up in the last few days. However, I don't think you want to be testing the waters there. You have to consider what stocks are the most actionable today, tomorrow, Wednesday, not what stocks are going to be the most actionable in a month or 2 months. I think that's the most sort of up-to-date way to look at this. We're all looking at our phones every week, every month. I don't really see why, you can't do that. If you're really cautious, maybe you're waiting for something, you're waiting for a sign that basically Bitcoin is going to be moving up. But in my view, I think you want to look at stocks that are interesting now. And so I'll give you some ideas instead of just blathering. So here's what I think is interesting. I don't think you ought to run out and buy this, but some of these basically defense stocks might have an opportunity, and I'm talking about AVAV, for example. So I'm not talking about specifically drone names like RCAT or UMAC or some of the more speculative names, but AeroVironment, AVAV, could have a sort of buy the dip opportunity here. I generally wouldn't advocate for a buy the dip type of stock idea, but this one in particular, I think could be good just because it's coming off of sort of a technical level where there could be some buying. There actually already has been some buying in the past couple of days, just didn't go up very much. So AVAV is definitely one I would keep on watch. Of course, everyone's talking about USAR and the Trump stake for United States rare earths. That's definitely interesting, but it sold off significantly. I think that sort of money rotated out of MP Materials, rotated into USAR, clearly. It had massive euphoria, and then it sold off. And I don't think you want to be testing the waters there, being sort of the retail flood to buy that up at a time when it's unclear still if the market is going to turn up. I know USA, this rare earth company is USAR. I think it is literally United States of America Rares. It doesn't have to go up. It's a little bit of a smaller cap, but the small cap index itself, IWM, doesn't look incredibly strong right now. It's actually been weak the last handful of days. So you have to listen to the news, listen to the breaking news, listen to the news wires, but also keep in mind that, it's kind of what already went up that gets talked about, right? In fact, a lot of people who short sell, who make money when stocks go down, they follow the news wires because they're looking for stocks that go up immediately after the news wires, or actually slightly in advance of the news wires sometimes. And then they, take a position on the short side, so they're actually selling the stock. That's a sell the news type of behavior, type of strategy. So they're selling stock to people who just read the newswire and decide to buy it. And the people who are involved in the dissemination of materials to increase retail participation of a stock in order to grow the company, raise some capital, those people as well are aware of this phenomenon. Not every small cap, micro cap stock is going to be the next Steve Madden, is going to be the next SodaStream, the next whatever, True Religion Jeans. I think these are a few examples of, penny stocks that turned into billion-dollar companies, something like that. Whether you measure billion-dollar by revenue valuation, not like unicorn billion-dollar private company like an AI company, more like, some type of cash generation, not simply private market markup that then went public. People are enthused by the possibility of private companies going public. There's a ton of euphoria around the SpaceX IPO. The space names went on a crazy, massive run in the past month, and sure, there might be an opportunity to get into some of those for an additional move. I don't see it happening right now. Rocket Lab is probably the strongest fundamentally sound option, but doesn't technically look like a good move, and to get into right now. It looks like there might not be any move at all for a bit. They need to cool off, in my opinion. So I keep an eye on there. If you have any ideas, drop those in the chat. This is live. I can see your comments right here. So if you go ahead and drop those, I can respond right here in real time, and we can brainstorm on how to tackle this FOMC day. But I do think the best opportunities will sort of avail themselves at 9:30, 9:35. If you are in the Discord, you're going to be privy to that. You're going to be involved in that. If you have some questions or comments, feedback is fast in there. So generally how this works is I'll set up a watch list from, a small universe, 100, 200 stocks. And that universe is composed of 2% moving stocks on an average and more. But they also are over $1.5 billion in market cap and $100 million traded per day. So that's a very small, pretty elite group of companies that, has that quality, those three characteristics. And then I'll look at what are the risk reward on those companies right now. Are there like 10, 20 that look like if you were to buy them today or maybe in the next few days, there's a clear level to risk off of. And the reason level is important is, just like in an art auction, this is an example I use time and time again with varying degrees of clarity. If you put a banana and tape it to a duct tape to a wall and you try to sell that, there could be a lot of buyers that bid that up for whatever reason, but eventually it's going to settle near a price. And when it settles near that price for a while, that's when that's pretty much what it's worth right now. So only when there's some type of fundamental change, and you don't necessarily know what that might be. It could just be, a bunch of people showed up and suddenly they want to buy, they want to bid more. If you already own a fraction of that, fractionalized art, is a real deal asset class. Then you can resell that to people who are now coming in and want to buy it. The new flood of bidders, the volume. But you have to own it at the price agreement level. So otherwise, you're just part of the new people bidding it up. So it is sort of the greater fool theory in this scenario, unless you truly fundamentally value bananas taped to walls. But that is how the market works. The market's not a reflection necessarily of how much revenue, how much EBITDA margin a company has. It is, in the long term, a weighing machine, as Warren Buffett says. But in the way that we enter these companies, it's often case a bit of a buy first, research later type of entry tactic, which gives us the edge, and then we also cut our losers very quickly. And so the advantage of the buy first, research later is that if you cut your loser very quickly, if the stock immediately starts to go down from where you bought it, or does so in the next however many days, and you have a very, very close stop to where you bought it, it's 1%, say, then it doesn't matter. You don't have to research and study and become a connoisseur, aficionado, student of why bananas taped to walls are not valuable suddenly. You just say, well, people aren't buying it, so I guess it wasn't that, useful. But if the price goes up, if a flood of people do show up and that banana taped to the wall NFT stock, equity instrument, whatever this wild example is about, becomes more valuable, like gets bid up, then you already own a piece of it, and then you can research later, hey, how likely is this to keep going up? Why is it going up? Or is the banana market as a whole going up? Is the art market as a whole going up? Are they both going up? Should I continue to own my fraction of this banana taped to the wall, or should I sell it out to these willing and eager buyers at this fair price who want it at a higher price now? And so that's typically the strategy. If you do have any comments, go ahead and drop a comment. I can see one here, actually. I'm really not doing a good job at seeing that reflection, but wish I bought your calls last year, man. What's up, Anthony? Dude, the calls will fluctuate based on market conditions, right? Last September, early September, there were definitely some great opportunities in sort of the sphere I'm talking about right now, where you have stocks going at a price agreement level, and then the market rockets up. And the market only goes up, if you look at September, it probably went up 10%, no, like 5%. Someone can check this on me, but this is how little I look at the actual market. I don't know how much it went up, but I do know that when the market only goes up 4%, there's a lot of individual stocks that are at those price agreement levels, just call them levels, that go up a lot more, because suddenly, like we just talked about the banana and the art market, the whole market gets more valuable. So that specific stock gets more valuable by a huge margin because there's new information making it go up. Time to short gold or silver, JP? Yeah, that's the question of the week, of the day even. And I personally am seeing gold holding up better. Silver seems to be holding up so far today, right? I mean, big recovery yesterday. So there's a little bit of chatter about how in China there's some sort of like physical delivery scramble to, buy more silver there, essentially. So the demand doesn't seem to be like tapering off, and then there's a delay between what's happening in China and what's happening in the US. So if you just look technically at the actual chart, you would short this if you knew nothing about it. If it was just some random instrument that's up, tulips are up 1,000% or whatever goes up. Gold might be up, 400% in the last couple of years. Someone can check that directly, but yeah, you would short it. But it's hard to pick the top. It has been hard. And what happens is if there's more buying activity tomorrow, a lot of people who are short are going to have to cover, and it could definitely go up, another few percent just in, a few hours even. So we'll see what happens, but that's definitely the topic du jour. But yeah, I'm going to sign off here. It's been 15 minutes. The market is officially open, and Be well. I'll see you in the Discord for the best idea of the day.